In the flashback of the story, Aladdin was seen collapsing on his knees saying he would rather die than to be trapped in this place forever. He has to go. What he is? Lugo refused to answer his question but added that he could grant Olive in any way she wants, such as attaining immortality. Soon later in the storyline, Alibaba was loading goods for Boodle. What Alibaba was about to load the goods, he found a young boy feasting on watermelons, which he soon introduced himself as Aladdin. When Buddha found Aladdin feasting on the watermelons, he demanded Alibaba to work until he is compensated for the loss of the watermelons. Later that night, when Aladdin asked about dungeons, Alibaba explained it as mysterious ruins that appeared all over the world 14 years ago, where those who capture a gain both fame and power, which he included that the reward also has a metal vessel with a jinn in it, which Aladdin was looking for. The next day, when Aladdin was traveling with Alibaba, it bumped into a girl which later was revealed to be a slave. All it didn't freed her, but people showed disapproving expressions, which Alibaba said that it's not a good thing to do as it means stealing a slave, which also happened to be Boodle's. Boodle later threatened Alibaba that if he doesn't compensate for his loss he would make Alibaba into his slave, and started to abuse the girl. However, All It in Stockton with his flute which spread arms and attacked Boodle. This made Alibaba and the crowd shocked. Alibaba asked Aladdin about the flute, which Aladdin introduced it as Hugo and Shin. Fascinated by Aladdin's flute, he sends Aladdin to a hostel. Boodle's superior Jamil knew about the incident and gave Boodle a job to transport wine and slaves in the hostel. All of them revealed his aim, which is to fulfill his promise to Hugo that he would search for a jinn metal vessel. Boodle found Alibaba and threatened him whether to work for Boodle for life or die. Later they found a girl in cage, which was later revealed that she would be transferred to the mines. On their journey, a desert hyacinth was seen attacking Ricardo while helping Buddha with carrying the wine. Alibaba saw a girl falling down from the cliff, which was saved by the girl they met earlier, and both of them ended up falling into the cliff. Alibaba, worried about them, punched Boodle for just worrying about the wine and went to save them from being eaten by the hyacinth. Aladdin later tried to help Alibaba and his rescue by summoning his jinn. After defeating the monster, Alibaba and Aladdin set off to the dungeon. After a narrow escape from drowning and being set on fire, our heroes must fight an army of alien ants. Using Google's power, they're able to defeat them, but afterwards a tuckered out Aladdin collapses. As it turns out, every time he calls his magical friend, Aladdin uses some of his power, and he can only use so much of it before he needs to recharge by eating or taking a bit of a nap. Alibaba looks after the unconscious Aladdin when they're discovered by Majano, who has entered the dungeon with her master Sharif Chundel and another one of his slaves. The Silent Gold is in search of Aladdin, whom is Sharif call Maggie. Jamal takes All It in and ends up persuading Alibaba to join him. The group wanders on until it eventually falls to Alibaba to disarm a particularly fiery trap, and after doing so he's engulfing flames. Aladdin wakes up and is left in Maki on his care, while the other two explore further as Magiano's telling Aladdin how Alibaba died. He appears above them and escapes with Aladdin. They reach in front of a huge gate that requires both of their hands to open, as well as a magic incantation. The door dissolves, revealing a whole underground city. Later Aladdin and Alibaba reach the treasure room, then Goltus appears and collapse in front of them. When they are distracted by Goltus, Majano kicks Aladdin across the room. Jamal has Majano to go after All It, and while he deals with Alibaba, Jamil and Alibaba engage in a sword duel. In their match, Alibaba easily evades Jamil's attacks and knocks him down. Wonders how Alibaba is able to outwit him. When Alibaba has Jamal cornered, Jamil orders Majano to save him. Alibaba tries to ask Makayana to go with him, yet he finds himself slammed by Majano into the stairs. Jamo laughs at Alibaba and pets Makayana. He stomps on Alibaba repeatedly and orders Makayana to kill Alibaba. In the nick of time, Aladdin destroys Magiano's sword and demands Channel to give him back his flute. When Majano tries to attack Aladdin, Aladdin binds Majano with his powers, recalling his teacher's vision of a great Mahdi. As Channel asks Aladdin to make him a king after giving Aladdin his flute back, All It in remarks that Jamil is not worthy to be king. Later Aladdin and Alibaba find Amun, who explain what a Magi's purpose is. Suddenly someone strikes the tower from the outside, causing the tower to crumble. Despite Alibaba's urge for Jamil's group to leave with them, Gold has frees Majano from her chains, and he tells her to go with them as he and Jam will stay behind to face their fate. On the way out, Alibaba and Aladdin chat about their goals and promise each other to go on more adventures. In kitchen, Alibaba finds himself welcomed by the villagers, but he finds all it did missing. Meanwhile, in the plains, the Kuta clan find Aladdin sleeping. Alibaba is visited by Majano, who thanks him for making use of the treasure he collected to free all the slaves, including her. Alibaba then decides to leave the city looking for his friend. Aladdin wakes up in a nomadic village far away and has welcomed the Kuga clan's leader Baba Hakren. The first princess of the Ku Empire appears at the village to ask the clan to join the empire, but Baba declines her offer, fearing that the empire may eventually annex the Kuga by force. All it and pays a visit to the princess, and she promises him to solve the matter without causing any deaths. Meanwhile, some women from the clan are kidnapped by slave traders, and a group of warriors set to rescue them, or to not kill anybody in order to not cause a war. After the warriors return bringing the women with them, and having fulfilled the promise to not shed any blood, Baba announces her decision to have the clan join the Ku Empire, and the clan agrees. Later, everyone is sitting by a fire having somewhat of a party. After a while, Baba excuses herself, telling everyone she's going pee. She tells herself that she will live on to see her children's children and grandchildren, but soon after she is hit by an arrow. Alden wonders with taking Baba so long. As Aladdin rushes to take Baba to be treated, Akaway learns that one of the soldiers was killed by an arrow from the Kuga clan, and she leaves the army under the commander for aid Rashai to learn the truth about the attack. As soon as Hakaway left, Ryasay explains that this is part of his plan to start a war. Hakaway comes across the clan, who does not believe her words even after she had herself wounded. After refusing to fight back, Baba, who is brought there by Aladdin under her request, reaffirms her decision to have the Kuga become a protectorate of the Ku Empire and allows the princess to return. After Baba dies from her wounds, her spirit appears before all, who confirms that he's indeed a Magi. Haku returns to the camp just to find Ryasay and his troops ready for war. She learns that it was all a plot of his to have her killed and for Ryasay to take command of her troops. Haku and her assistant says in fight against the troops. However, Hakaway's metal vessel runs out of Magoi, causing them to lose the fight. All it didn't arrives and uses his powers to knock Gray aside in the troops back. Then All Iden notices Hakaway's metal vessel, then Payment the Jinn inside Hakaway's metal vessel materializes. Aladdin learns from Payment that Haku's her king candidate appointed by a Magi who lives in the Ku Empire. After bidding farewell to the Kava clan, All It enjoys a caravan looking to reunite with Alibaba. While Sasa and Layla are selling their produce, Majano arrives to deliver one huge load. Later, Majano thanks both Sasa and Leela for helping her and informs them that she is heading to her homeland to honor her savior's wishes. In town, the group see how empty the town is due to the bandits. Layla bumps into a slave trader Fatima, and Majano glances at the group of slaves following Fatima. Next day, the head of caravan informs Majano that they are taking another route and he cannot take Makayana back to her homeland since the bandits' fortress is blocking the other path. At the bandits' hideout, Nando chats with Fatima while Majano makes her way to their home base. She jumps down and makes a little announcement thinking she's a small threat. One man gets too close to Majano and he gets punched in the gut by her as she beats up the bandits. Nando tries to attack her only to receive Magiano's powerful kick to the face. Watching her, Fatima falls in love with Magiano's sheer strength and enhanced speed. He sends a crow that tears into Magiano's shoulder. She succumbs to the toxin and collapses back in town. Layla realizes Majano is missing and she sees the head of the caravan assembling a small group. Majano watches in horror as the child is about to be killed. Then cheaters gulled his voice, urging her to fight back, and she jumps high in the air. After she destroys the ankle cuts by banging them against the metal plate, she unleashes a devastating shriek that scares the hyenas, releasing the tigers. Majano jumps into the fray and brutally smashes the tigers one by one. She leads towards Fatima and demands the keys. Majano frees the slaves and Nadia reunites with her parents in the crowd. Alden calls over Majano and explains that the bandits had ambushed the caravan outside of the bandits' hideout. Layla's group heads towards the base only to see and go popping out. After a night of celebration, Aladdin and Majano head towards Balbat. The Nano brothers trek across the desert and into the forest where they find Sinbad sleeping. The brothers notice Sinbad wears a lot of jewelry. Moments later in Majano and Aladdin arrive at the forest. Majano thanks Aladdin and informs him that she is heading back to our homeland. The two see something shocking. Sinbad reads Aladdin and Majano while nude. When Majano smells the sea, she and Aladdin run up the hill where they gaze upon the kingdom of Balbat. Sinbad gives the two a tour around the city and explains about the trade, the royal family and the poverty. He leads them to a hotel where he gives them rooms as thanks. When the guards try to stop Sinbad, Jafar stops them inside the room. Sinbad states he has been robbed of his clothes and equipment, which irks Jafar. Jafar reminds him of his responsibility as Sindria's king. In a meeting with King Ahmed, Sinbad asked him to resume trade with Sindria. Ahmed explains about the fog troop to Sinbad at the same time, and maid does the same to Majano and Aladdin. When the maid mentions Alibaba's name, Aladdin is startled. Sinbad takes the problem in his own hands after Ahmed makes a rude comment. Later Sinbad treats Majano and Aladdin to lunch while he introduces his generals to them. While Sinbad and Jafar chat, Jafar freaks out when Aladdin summons Ugoda showed a master in the background. Sinbad learns that Aladdin does not know about his adventures and gives him a proper introduction of himself, but Aladdin asks Sinbad what a Magi is. Sinbad explains that a Mahdi can materialize jinn and can create Magoi. He requests Aladdin to help him capture the thieves, which Jafar asks Sinbad to reconsider. Majano states that the thieves are stopping trade, which prevents her from going to the Dark Continent. At the same time, she and Aladdin are looking for someone, while she and Aladdin agree to help Sinbad capture the thieves at Magiano's location. She grabs Aladdin and jumps with him on the roof. Proof when she smells the red fog. Jafar explains the scarlet fog is causing hallucinations, saying Hassan and their group arrive at the building. Hassan uses his weapon to melt through the door. Jafar seizes the thieves with his long strings. As Jafar lands, a black fog seduce him. Majano attempts to attack Qasim, who binds Majano with his ebony fog. Aladdin summons Hugo to block the mansion from the thieves. A mysterious figure passes Qasim and reveals his face to Aladdin, who is shocked to see Alibaba. Aladdin stares down Alibaba, who asked him to put away Hugo, and despite Jafar's protests, Aladdin does it anyway. Aladdin reminds Alibaba of their promise on that day, going to see the world together. Alibaba apologizes to Aladdin that he cannot keep that promise, and Aladdin is at a loss of words. When the Balbat military police arrive, Alibaba summons Aman's flames and flood the surroundings with Aman's wrath. Next day Sinbad chats with Jafar about Alibaba at the bandits' hideout. Qasim welcomes the Nando brothers and Alibaba informs them that they are chivalrous thieves who are fighting for the slums. A group of children arrive to thank Alibaba, and Qasim asks Alibaba to save these children. In Alibaba's room he thinks he senses something, and when he gets on his bed he sees Majano on the ceiling, who muffles him. She reminds him that he was looking for Aladdin 6 months ago, and when Alibaba does not comply, Majano kidnaps Alibaba. All of a sudden Majano tosses Alibaba through the window. Moments later, Alibaba and Aladdin have an awkward moment until Majano has Alibaba explain everything. Alibaba shares his story about Qasim in his past. Alibaba and Qasim play with each other in one of their games. Alibaba always comes home to his mother, who was a prostitute. Later on, Alibaba's mother passes away and Alibaba along with the other children did small jobs. On the other hand, Qasim resorts to crime to do the same. What Alibaba asks Qasim if he needs help. Qasim tells Alibaba that he wants him to stay on the path of his mother. Afterwards, Alibaba discovers that his true father is the king of Balbat, and when Alibaba breaks the news to him, Qasim states that the two were different from birth. Years later, after learning to be a prince at the castle, Alibaba sneaks away to see the slums. He is shocked to see nothing there, and he finds Qasim over at a bar. Alibaba shares to and how he snuck out from the castle using tunnels. Alibaba feels stupid when he reflects back on how someone followed him back to the castle by the king's bed. Rashid Salajah tells Alibaba that he wants to leave the country to him. Before Alibaba accepts the offer, he asks his father how he felt about his mother, and the king states that he truly loved her. Then a noise is heard and Alibaba goes out to investigate, where he gets knocked out after seeing Qasim. Qasim has his followers burn the place. Alibaba begins explaining his past to Aladdin and Makayana. At the same time, Sinbad eavesdrops on Alibaba's Conversations from the next room in Balbad. Alibaba investigates what has happened to his hometown during a raid on a ship. Alibaba encounters Qasim. Qasim explains that the government had burned down the slums due to an epidemic. He states that he started the Fog Troop to fight for the poor and to rebel against the government. He asked Alibaba to become their leader. As Aladdin listens to Alibaba the story, he makes a connection to the Kuga clan's situation. Aladdin reassures Alibaba that he has him and Majano as his support. Suddenly Qasim and his gang crash into the room. Sinbad and his crew engages Qasim's troop. He manages to inflict damage on Hassan. Majano asks Alibaba what will he do, then Master runs and bashes through the gang. Qasim attempts to bind Sinbad but fails after Master has captured Qasim. Qasim urges Alibaba to run away. Sinbad points out that Alibaba is a prince. Alibaba takes out his dagger when he thinks Sinbad is making fun of his bomb with Qasim and the Fog Troop. As Alibaba unleashes a barrage of Amon's flames, Sinbad knocks out Alibaba easily. Sinbad remarks that Alibaba cannot properly use his jinn's powers. He offers his aid to the Fog Troop. Much to everyone's shock, Jafar reminds Sinbad that he is here to fix the situation with Balbad's trade. Sinbad states that he wants to help everyone in the slums. He asks Alibaba to trust him and explains that his reasons is to stop the distortions of the world. When Qasim refuses to believe Sinbad and mocks him, Jafar attempts to threaten Qasim. Sinbad stops him. Next day the townspeople read Alibaba's message and arrive at the palace with hopes in their hearts. In Ahmed's royal court, Alibaba requests Ahmed to help the people in the slums. In exchange, Alibaba will disband the Fog Troop. However, Ahmed refuses to acknowledge Alibaba or answer his request. Outside, Aladdin notices Judah and the black rock surrounding him. The man presents himself as Judah, an oracle serving the Ku Empire who claims to have business with Ahmed. Ignoring Alibaba's protests, Ahmed reveals to Sinbad that by recommendation of his financial advisor Markio, he relinquished all of Balbad's trading rights to the Ku Empire. Thus he is not in position to resume trading. Sindria back at the Fog Troop's base, Sinbad announces to the people of the slums that negotiations with Ahmed failed, but for some reason Qasim and his companions are nowhere to be found. Judah appears before Sinbad and notices that the rock behaves strangely around Aladdin. Sinbad then reveals that it is because Aladdin is a Magi just like him. Without any warning, Judah starts attacking Aladdin until Hugo appears to stop him. Judah strikes all of him with his ice spears and Go shields him with his own body. Aladdin tries to have the wounded Hugo return to the flute, but he refuses. Judah then impales Hugo with a huge ice spear, but the Jinn makes use of his last strength to crush him with his hands. Shooter is saved from being killed by the princess of the Ku Empire and her aide Kubanka, who tends to his wounds. Hugo tries to attack them, but the princess defeats him with the aid of her Jinn Vinyam. Aladdin then launches himself in fury against the princess, who orders her servants to kill everyone. However, Sinbad intervenes and convinces the princess to retreat as the wounded from the battle are treated. Alibaba and Majano find an exhausted Aladdin who had almost all of his Magway depleted in an attempt to bring back Hugo and is in critical condition. Feeling himself to be useless for not being able to do anything to help him with Qasim still missing, Alibaba is visited by Amon's other brother, the Saba. Sinbad deduces that it was Sabmad who was leaking info about the army to the Fog Troop, and he explains that it was all to protect Alibaba, whom he claims is the only one able to stop Ahmed. He reveals that after contracting huge debt with the Ku Empire, Ahmed intends to pay for it by selling the people of Balbat as slaves. Upon hearing that, Majano urges Alibaba to make a stand against him before returning to the palace. Samad warns Alibaba that in 5 days Ahmed will marry one of the Ku Empire's princesses, and in the occasion his decision to turn the people of Balbad into slaves will be announced sometime later. While Aladdin still shows no signs of waking up, Alibaba is informed by Sinbad that in order to stop up Ahmed's plans and prevent the country to be taken over by the Ku Empire, he must assume the throne of Balbad. As Alibaba wanders the streets thinking about it, he is approached by Qasim, who is among what remains of the Fog Troop. Qasim reveals to Alibaba that he already knows about Ahmed's slavery plan, and helped by the weapons dealer who supplies their magic tools, he intends to start a rebellion in 2 days. Alibaba refuses to cooperate with him and affirms that he will look for a solution which does not involve the death of anyone. After Alibaba is driven away by Qasim, he turns to Sinbad and asks him to Teach him how to properly use his jinn. Sometime later Majano tries to find Alibaba with no success and realizes that he had left to confront his brother alone. Meanwhile at the palace gates Alibaba stands before the guards asking them to let him in. Alibaba manages to reach the palace grounds, but Ahmed sends one of the 3 royal guards from the Ku Empire to kill him. After finally succeeding to properly equip Amon's sword, Alibaba defeats the first guard, but the second guard in his army of monkeys block his way until Majano appears to fight in his place, allowing him to keep pressing forward. As Majano fights the second guard, Alibaba runs out of magway while fighting the third guard and creates some fire with oil to power up Amon's sword for an instant, using it to bring him down. Meanwhile Sinbad learns about the situation and leaves to the palace too. With all the guards defeated, Alibaba reaches the throne room where Ahmed orders his guards to kill him, but Sab Mad intervenes of his favor, insisting that the conversation between his 2 brothers must not be disturbed. As Alibaba tries to convince Ahmed to step down, Kubio Kuran, the princess they previously met, appears in an attempt to stop the commotion. She claims that even if Ahmed is removed from power, another king must be chosen to marry her as part of Balbad's agreement with the Ku Empire, and all agreements between both country trees, including the slavery treaty, must be acknowledged. Alibaba instead declares that there will be no king at all because Balbad's monarchy shall be dissolved and adopted democratic rule. Sinbad joins the discussion, bringing some representatives of his confederation, the Seven Seas Alliance, with him, and offers himself to discuss Balbad's inclusion and set alliance with the Ku Emperor in person, prompting Kudioka to retreat. As Alibaba addresses his decision to the people, the Ruck gathers strangely around Aladdin and Judah while Qasim and his men approach the palace. The crowd cheers for Alibaba's proposal of turning Balbad into a republic. Qasim and his fog troop arrive on the scene from afar. Ithnan observes the situation. Zainab fuels the rage of the crowd with her hallucinogenic red mist. Qasim orders everyone to wipe out the royalty and the crowd starts rebelling while the Black Rock runs rampant. Elsewhere Jafar tries to wake up Aladdin. In Aladdin's dream he wakes up to see Hugo's talking head. Google reassures Aladdin that he is still alive but he was almost dead due to a battle with Judah in Balbad. Markio tries to suppress the Black Rock but Ifman crushes him. Meanwhile Bubo talks about how Black Rock is formed when a flow of fate is reversed. He explains to all in that he cannot protect him anymore and that he has something important to give him, the wisdom of Solomon. Deep in the vortex of knowledge Solomon informs Aladdin that he will be reborn at all. It inside Jafar and Masser head to the palace. Over at the palace the guards are being slaughtered. Alibaba instructs them to have half of the royal army lock off the main gate while the other half suppresses the invaders in the palace. Confronting Qasim and his group, Alibaba demands Qasim to explain himself. Qasim states that he has no need for equality or kings. When Qasim attacks Alibaba, the others use their black fog to bind Alibaba. Alibaba unleashes his flames to break free and Zainab blasts in with her red mist, yet Alibaba uses Amon's sword to defend himself. He breaks Hassan's weapon in everyone's swords. He orders Qasim to withdraw. At Qasim demands Alibaba to kill him. Recalling Ifman's instructions, Qasim stabs himself with his sword and gathers all of the remnants of his allies' shattered blades which strike his body, absorbing the household vessels. Qasim transforms into a dark jinn. Roaring loud, the black jinn starts bombarding the royal guards with dark magic blasts. When Qasim dives towards Ahmed, Majano kicks Qasim down. Alibaba quickly cuts off Qasim's arm only to see Qasim regenerate his left arm back using the Black Rock. As Qasim powers up his attack, Sinbad stabs him in the back to manipulate his magway while urging Alibaba to strike Qasim down. Concentrating his flames, Alibaba thrusts in a chasm with all of his might. And throws Sinbad towards Alibaba and Matayana grabs him. Sinbad explains to Alibaba that he has to put everything in one attack to defeat Qasim. Sinbad gives Alibaba some magway and his Alibaba dies towards Qasim. Judah intercepts and knocks Alibaba away. But you're back on the battlefield. Ithnan explains to Judah about his increased powers and tells him to finish off Alibaba. When hope is almost gone, Aladdin soars towards the palace using the power of the White Rock. Meanwhile Judah takes control of Qasim and he uses his ice spears to pin Sinbad to the wall. After Majano evades Qasim's attacks, Alibaba requests Majano to toss him so he can deliver the final blow. She tosses Alibaba high in the air and Tudor blasts him, combining his Ice magic with Qasim's gravity magic castle breaks Alibaba's sword. Alibaba asks Majano to toss him one more time. We're calling Alibaba's determination. Aladdin arrives in a flash of light before Alibaba. Judah asks Aladdin to show his jinnat. Aladdin explains that Hugo is no longer here. Aladdin uses his ruck to materialize into Hugo's form to protect himself from Tudor's attacks. Aladdin uses his har and figure to melt the ice that was pinning Sinbad. He asked Majano to bring Sinbad to the city. Then he tells Alibaba that he has no chance of defeating Judah by himself. As Aladdin gathers the white rock from the people of Balbad, Ifman realizes that Aladdin has acquired wisdom of Solomon. Using wisdom of Solomon, Aladdin absorbs the rock inside his body. He explains to Alibaba that he has to pierce Qasim with his sword and repairs the sword as Judah rains ice peers down on them. Alibaba manages to dodge them and stab Qasim. Then Qasim absorbs Alibaba. Aladdin uses his wisdom of Solomon to tap into Judah, who collapses after remembering some of his dark past inside the black jinn. Alibaba speaks with Qasim, who states that he has despised him ever since they met. Qasim wonders why he is the only one stained by the darkness while Alibaba is radiating with the light. Alibaba punches Qasim and explains that he had done things that he is ashamed. The two power up their respective rocks and attack each other. Qasim knocks Alibaba down. Qasim states that everything was decided for them at birth. Qasim stabs Alibaba in the chest with his black rock and some of Alibaba's white rock flows inside Qasim. As a result, Qasim hears Alibaba's words that shatter his blade. When Qasim cries, his world brightens up and the black jinn begins to fall apart. Running towards Qasim, Alibaba tries to grab Qasim's hand and yells out that they are friends in the palace. Ifman quickly grabs Judah and retreats. Aladdin watches Alibaba holding and bawling over Qasim's dead body. High in the skies, Master strikes Ithnan with his household vessel. Then Jafar breaks Ithman's barrier with his powers. While Ithman falls down, Sinbad powers up his magic and electrocutes Ithnan in a powerful flash of lightning. Sinbad notices only a doll has fallen deep in the sea. A snake swims from Ithman's disemboweled head. Meanwhile, the men and women of Altaman discuss about the Balvat incident. Bag the palace. Aladdin points out that the dead is always with them in their hearts and in the rock's flow. Alibaba's parents appear before Alibaba and Aladdin tells everyone to reunite with their loved ones. Then all of the deceased citizens fly towards the Great Rock. Majano embraces both Olinan and Alibaba. That's all folks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment below, hit the like button and subscribe for more.